Hi, welcome back to what is going to be episode 3 of the podcast. Episode 2 is just me focusing on NASCAR, but I do have my co-host back here, Blake.
How's it going?
And we are hitting college football this week, along with a couple other topics. However, we are going to start off the list for one of Blake's favorite things.
Everybody loves lists.
I have a list for you, buddy.
Oh, yay.
You have $15.
Oh, God.
It's one of these lists? Yep. You must pick one from each row.
Okay.
Your $5 quarterback is Tom Brady. $4 Montana. 3 Peyton. 2 Breeze. 1 Marino.
Okay.
Your running backs, orders 5-1. Barry Sanders.
Okay.
Jim Brown.
Okay.
Walter Payton. Emmitt Smith. And LT.
Ooh.
Your receivers. No, your wide receiver 1, I should say. Jerry Rice.
Of course.
Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Chris Carter, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, so sounds really good so far.
Wide receiver 2. Some of these guys should be pissed off they're not number 1. Larry Fitzgerald, Megatron, Julio, Antonio Brown, and Don Hudson. I'm not familiar with Don Hudson.
I do not know a Don Hudson.
And your tight ends, Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Gates, Shannon Sharp, and Jason Witten.
Okay, so
$15.
all right, want to borrow your pen?
You do yours, and I'll go through and do mine. I
Alright.
kind of figured mine out earlier.
All right. Well, the lucky part is all the quarterbacks are Hall of Famers, so that's where you save your money.
For sure.
So I'm gonna go there, and then I'm gonna do. I can spend 15, right?
Yeah, 15. So just for the record,
$15.
I randomly call Blake on a daily basis with a random list. And I'm like, hey, top 10 passing yards all time for each team. Who do you think it is? And we'll just go on it for hours and hours and hours, which is part of the reason why we started this podcast, because it's just what we do.
We're constantly calling and talking about sports on a daily basis.
So instead of just doing it to each other, we can do it each other now with you guys involved, and you guys can put in the comments what you guys think, or let us know other stuff that you want to see. We're always up for different lists, different topics. This is a sports podcast, but I'm willing to talk about other stuff other than sports, as long as it's not politics. I try to stay out of that.
We'd stay out of that.
But, honestly, just anything and everything. You got your list yet?
I do. I'm actually happy with it.
Okay. All right. So if you want to read your list off real quick, I'm going to go over and make mine.
All right. Like I said, so your quarterback is where I'm saving a little bit. I picked Breeze for $2. I went Walter Payton for $3. I spent the $5 to get Jerry Rice, but I backed him up with Julio Jones for $3, and then I finished off with Shannon Sharp for $2 to be my tight end. In my opinion, underrated tight end, really good career for the amount of time that he played. Obviously not a Gronkowski or a Tony Gonzalez, but...
All right, so I kind of went not similar route at all. I have different players.
Totally different.
I have the GOAT, Tom Brady. I am biased, diehard Brady fan. There's 5 jerseys hanging up in the closet. And I took LT at 1. I mean,
It's a steal for $1.
For $1.
It is $1, yes.
And then I picked up Terrell Owens at $3 and Megatron at 4.
It's a solid pickup.
Solid pickup, and then I still got Shannon Sharp. Like you said, very underrated tight end. I would have liked to maybe get Gronk in there. I was also thinking Witten too. I was thinking about going Moss and then Witten, but I really liked the Owens-Calvin matchup. I thought that was good.
That's a solid one. And then I got Rice and Julio, both really fast, both athletic, can make catches when they need to. And obviously you got Drew Brees, who, had he not been passed by Tom Brady, held every passing record in the NFL.
And he's still got a ton of the stats leading them.
Exactly. So, in my opinion, Breeze at $2 is an absolute steal.
It is an absolute steal. I agree with you there. I had to take Brady because, I mean,
being a diehard, biased Patriots fan.
I was going to take Tom.
So I like to start it off with something fun like that, but we are ready to kick it in to college football. And
Everybody's favorite, least favorite.
Me, I'm a huge college football fan, have been for years. So you'll probably hear me talk a little bit more in this one just because I am a
Big college football fan.
Blake knows a lot more about college football than I do. I used to watch heavily back when it was like Oregon. It was Darren Thomas and DeAnthony Thomas and Michael James. I grew up watching Rudy all the time, so I'm kind of a Notre Dame fan. I also like Texas. So, I mean, kind of three different teams there for me, but I don't follow nearly as much as he does. So Blake will probably do majority of the talking here. He knows a little bit more than I do, but I do have some notes here. But yeah, let's get it started. What do you got?
let's kick it off first. The top 6 hardest schedules this year.
Okay.
Surprisingly, the number 1 hardest schedule of the year was Florida.
I did hear you, I heard you talking. Their last 8 games are pretty difficult,
They
right?
play Ole Miss, Florida State, Georgia, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. That's 5 of them, and then there's a couple more that
Kentucky.
they play
Kentucky was one of those.
Kentucky and they play Texas.
Because obviously Texas moved to the SEC.
So, in my opinion, if Florida doesn't go 8-0 to start the second half of the season, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Extremely difficult schedule.
that is tough to finish off a stretch like that. And I think Kentucky's honestly the big sleeper there. Kentucky's been making waves the past couple years.
They have been. Their
Really
football
starting to come
program
on
is
strong.
starting to roll a little bit. We noticed that last year. Kentucky, Duke, and North Carolina, UNC. I mean, they all 3 had really solid performances in football.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
Yeah, I mean that's pretty difficult. What else you got?
And then
Honestly, I'm going to know a little bit more. Some of your players to watch this year, I had a couple wrote down. Ollie Gordon II, I know you said you didn't know him. He's a running back out of Oklahoma State who actually put up 2,000, sorry, second time I've done that, 2,000 yards from scrimmage last year. He had 1,700 on the ground and 300 in the air.
You want to be a part of the podcast?
So it was pretty solid. James Pierce out of Tennessee, rated as one of the best edge rushers in college football this year going into the season. Curious to see what he does. Obviously, Carson Beck out of Georgia.
Yeah, he's
You
good.
know,
He's good.
Yeah,
Good kid.
Georgia the last few years, it's just a powerhouse. 3 chances at a championship, and they won 2 of them. Obviously, Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. Curious to see what that program does without Nick Saban behind the steering wheel.
That's going to be crazy. First time in a long time.
Obviously, I only put him in here because he is a dual threat. Travis Hunter.
I just don't like Colorado.
fair point.
Not a Dion fan.
Yeah, mostly Dion. I'm a huge Dion fan, so I do follow him just seeing what he does because you can't argue with results. Obviously, he didn't do what he wanted to last year, but first time over a new program. And another one that I added, knowing that he probably will not start, is the Manning nephew out of Texas.
Archie.
Yeah, Arch.
Something like that.
Curious to see if he does get a chance to play. Obviously, huge legacy to live up to.
Yeah, definitely has some big shoes to fill. He is for sure going to start to fill in behind Quinn Ayers, whatever it is. Quinn's really good, honestly. I would love to see Manning play. I don't think it's going to happen until next year. But I think the kid's going to ball out.
Yeah. He broke every record that both his uncles held.
Yeah.
So, he beat, the touchdown record, the passing yards record. He broke everything.
Yeah, he's definitely good. I'm be interested to see how the first few games go. I'm interested to watch him play. I've been waiting for a couple of years now.
Obviously, and you being Texas, Texas fan, curious to see what he can do with that program.
It should be good. What do you have for your 5 favorites this season?
My 5 favorites.
Like your you can do your personal favorites to win, or your betting favorites. What do you have?
I don't have the betting odds. I do have the top teams that percent-wise that
Okay.
should make the playoffs.
Which one?
Obviously, Georgia, huge favorite.
Yeah, big
I mean,
favorite.
it's just a program. Oregon coming into the Big Ten. Curious to see what they do in that. Texas, then followed by Ohio State. They're pretty close. The big surprise, Notre Dame and Penn State tied. They both have a 58.1% chance. Obviously, Notre Dame being independent, not playing they're playing everybody.
Everybody.
So they have a chance to play everybody, so it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then just to do it, because I'm curious to see what the program does, Alabama at 57.2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I just don't know if Alabama. We don't know. This is their first time without Saban in a long time, so I don't know how they're going to look.
About 17 years. So
Yeah.
it's a long time behind the same
That's
coach.
a long one. I am not an Alabama fan by any means. Shout out to Blake's mom on that one.
Roll Tide. I had to.
No, gonna roll down a big old hill into a pond.
He'll get on the train eventually.
Ain't happening. Yes, I mean, I do know that Bama does have some good games this year. Georgia plays at Alabama.
Which is huge because that'll probably be who controls the SEC, in my opinion, like every year.
It is. LSU gets Alabama at home. LSU is actually, I think they're pretty high up on the betting odds, like 1,600 or something like
I
that.
didn't do the betting odds, but I did pull them up just so we could kind of bounce a little bit.
Yeah.
They were up there.
So I mean,
Sometimes.
LSU is going to be sneaky. I think. My favorite game of the year might be Georgia at Texas.
That is going to be huge.
That's going to be.
It's Texas's. You're going to basically the king of the SEC. Your first year in the SEC,
Yeah.
and you're playing in Georgia.
No. Georgia's playing. At
Oh,
Texas.
they're playing at Texas.
Georgia's
sorry.
playing in Texas.
Sorry, Georgia's playing in Texas, which is insane because if anybody has seen a Texas game, their fan base is out of control.
Absolutely.
So curious to see what Georgia does down there,
Yep. Ohio State gets Michigan at home this year.
which is huge for them because your odds to win almost double probably at home versus in Michigan.
For sure. Michigan not only has to play at, Ohio State at home, they've also got to play Oregon in Autzen.
Which is
No, my bad. Oregon's at Michigan. But even then, so Oregon in the big house. I mean,
Yeah, so what does Oregon do their first year in the Big Ten against the king of the Big Ten?
take notes from Appalachian State.
facts.
That's what they
Appalachian
do.
State did shock the world and beat them a few years ago.
Shock
So
the world.
yes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be some pretty good games there. Obviously, you have Texas versus Oklahoma at Cotton Bowl Stadium. And then on November 16th, I found this interesting. Ohio State plays Northwestern at Wrigley Field. I am a huge Chicago Cubs fan.
Wrigley Field, really?
Wrigley Field.
Wow.
I think Northwestern's up near that way or something like that.
Taking some pointers from the Raiders
Yeah.
playing on baseball stadium.
So
Baseball field.
I think that's going to be cool. Wrigley is just a phenomenal stadium in general. Field, I guess I should call it. I saw a concert there last year.
Yep.
It seats so many people.
It's a huge field.
It's going to be phenomenal, and I'm pretty sure somebody's jumping over the ivy.
Probably.
I mean, just
Do the modified Lambo leap.
Ivy
So-
Leap. Ivy Leap. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a ton of good games, good players. Obviously, you have the whole switching up with the Pac-12, whatever 16, whatever breaking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a ton of good games, good players. Obviously, you have the whole switching up with the Pac-12, whatever 16, whatever breaking down.
Yeah, we've covered a few of the moves. The Pac-12 lost 4 teams this year. Colorado obviously moved. Arizona State, and even Utah moved to the Big 12.
12.
The Oots.
The Oots.
What is
Yep.
an Oot?
I'm not sure. I didn't spend enough time in Utah to figure it out either.
Oh, you've actually been to Utah.
I did. I drove through it.
Oh, I've never been to Utah, so I do not
Wide
know.
open, trying to get across the state.
I
But
do not know what that.
and then of course, Oregon.
Washington moving to the Big Ten.
Yeah, Washington's always a sleeper too. Honestly, I mean they're pretty good.
I can't get behind Washington that much. Curious to see what they do in a tougher conference now.
For sure.
And then we touched on Cal, Stanford, and SMU actually moved to the ACC.
Mustangs.
Yes. So curious to see what the ACC looks like with a few of their teams playing as good as they did last season.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Here's the way I see it. SMU is not going to do great.
No.
Cal hasn't been really anything since Aaron Rodgers and wasn't really anything with Aaron Rodgers. And
Not an Aaron Rodgers fan at all.
Stanford hasn't done nothing. Well, they had Luck and they had McCaffrey. So they
Shout out CMC.
They've got some good players coming out of there, but they're never really like a threat. They're a threat to Oregon. They're a threat to Oregon State, but they're not a threat to like all these big teams. I just don't think
Your big SEC conference.
Yeah.
Curious to see, obviously, 12-team playoff this year. So
be
curious to
good.
see how that changes it up. Because you'll get the Florida States, the Washingtons, the Oregons, the teams that only lose one game.
One game.
maybe
They'll-
the Oops.
Maybe the Oops. Who knows?
So really curious to see what this season goes. Obviously, a lot of changes. Big teams going different places. A lot of players to watch, like you said. One more thing to touch on, and I think that'll close out what I have for college football. Heisman Trophy odds. Do you have any favorites that you want to?
Obviously, Beck's going to be probably the favorite out of Georgia. I think Ayers out of Texas is going to be good. He's been playing great the past couple of years. Travis Hunter will probably be in the conversation, whether he deserves to be or not. I mean, he's playing better than I do. I don't play at all. I'd say that's probably going to be your three to watch. I don't know if there's a really big running back this year that makes a case
So far, it's looking. Everything I've seen is pointing towards a quarterback award, like we did with the NFL last week.
Damn quarterback awards.
Yep. So curious to see. Obviously, the only person that could change it is Travis Hunter. And
Yeah.
being a dual threat like Deion Sanders was in college, I mean, it could help.
Definitely for sure.
But other than that, my top four players are all quarterbacks. So Carson Beck, Quinn Ayers, Jalen Milroe, and I do have one player I'm not entirely sure of, Dylan Gabriel. I'm not sure what position he plays, but he was in the top four.
Okay.
So should be interesting to see.
Should be a pretty good season.
It's shaping up to be.
I'm gonna have to watch some more college football and kind of brush up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I think having all these teams switched up definitely adds a different element to it as far as how things are going to work out.
Yeah, because teams that are normally good in softer conferences are now playing in tougher conferences.
Yep, absolutely.
So, like Texas and Oklahoma, of course, moving to the SEC, that's a huge move for them.
I mean, if there's two teams that can move to the SEC and probably not lose a step, it's probably
them too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Just because their fan base, they travel. Texas's fan base definitely does. There's a lot of orange in every, obviously, hook 'em horns.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a good season. I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yep, we'll see what it does.
Well, we appreciate you guys. We are going to have a couple clips drop this week. Like I said, we had a NASCAR clip dropping before this one. It may or may not be uploaded yet. We had some internet issues, and we are going to be dropping some wrestling news probably midweek. We're going to go ahead and kind of get started on that. But for now, we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yep.
And then join us later on this week and next week. We are going to be covering the Olympics for what we said 3 straight weeks.
We have our predictions coming out the Tuesday before the Olympics start.
Mhm.
We have kind of an update about halfway through it, and then the following week we're going to have our results, who won the most medals, best swimmers, best runners, and just giving everybody an update because not everybody does follow the Olympics religiously because it is a lot to watch.
But it's the Olympics.
Yes.
So, I mean,
but if you don't want to watch the whole Olympics, stay tuned to us.
yeah,
And we'll update you before, during, and after. So it should be, pretty good.
Sounds good. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.